Keith G. Good evening, everybody. So right now I'm at my library in the garage because there's no room in the house and there's not enough space in the house to read my books. I'm actually looking at the national legend of the Muscogee tribe and by Daniel G. Brinton. Now, more than half the book is blank. That's actually like 2/3 of the pages. But then you get into basically some very important stuff. And I want to do a book review on this, but I need to reread this. And I need to have the time and space to do so. I actually wouldn't mind doing a reading, like a LibriVox type of, LibriVox, however you pronounce it, reading of this book because, not because my voice is so good, but because this isn't a long book. I could even do 2 parts, and in the process of doing so, do some explanation as I read, which is kind of what I want to do. For the sake of this channel, that's kind of what I want to do. But I've got other books of interest. So I've got Beginning Creek, which again it's more of an academic book. It's not really the best book to actually learn a language, but it's got some great pictures. There's some video footage I've seen of Greenleaf ceremonial grounds from the, looks like early 80s, late 70s. These are photographs. A lot of this is Greenleaf. And I guarantee some of that video was probably filmed at the same time that these pictures were taken. Either this is published later on, it doesn't, I don't think that makes a lot of difference. I think it took pictures from before and they added them. I could be wrong. I'm going to review this again. But maybe give it a better chance as an actual linguistic source and not just think of it as an academic text, but it really is kind of more academic. You have the, you got Milford's memoir. It's got Poihli Miko on it, which might be the same person as Alexander McGillivray. So Louis Leclerc de Milford, this guy was very, very, like, one thing about the French is that they very much love how much they're French. They love the fact that they're French. They pride themselves on being French. It's unbelievable. And it shows in this book. Now, he definitely, like, he's writing this to Napoleon, by the way. I don't remember if it's Napoleon the First or Napoleon the Third, his nephew. But since Napoleon the Second was the son of Napoleon the First, who died as a baby. But anyways, a little bit of history there. The third, he called himself a third in honor of his uncle's late son. So, his cousin. So anyways, but yeah, this is written to Napoleon, one of the Napoleons. And it's very, very interesting. And what's funny is, I think it's going to tie into this. As I'm reading this, there's a little reference that makes you think of this, which I'll explain later on, because it'll be important to the review. I've got Angie Debo's The Road to Disappearance, A History of the Creek Indians. She passed away before I actually bought this book, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's actually very interesting history. I haven't read the whole thing. I need to kind of go back over it. But it's definitely a very important text for when you're studying the history of Muscogee Nation. So definitely worth getting. No, this isn't the one I mentioned before, I don't think. But The Rise of the Porch Band of Creek Indians, Lou Vickery with Steve Travis. I'm friends with Steve Travis on his daughter on Facebook. He's a nice dude. They're nice people. But it covers the descendants of two of the ancestral Porch families, the Moniac and Roland families. So there's Steve back there. Nice dude. Yeah. I actually need to read. I'm looking at this and I'm going, there's some of the maps in this book, some of the stuff. I may have to give this a second, give this a look through because, yeah, it's got drawings like Fort Mims. It's got old drawings that at the time that I bought this, I actually wasn't paying as much attention to. Now that I'm trying to focus more on the material culture of of our people. I'm much more interested in images like that. I always have been interested in the images of historical artwork when it comes to like combat, weapons, things of that nature, and of course portraits. But now I look at, I'm looking at things like maps. I'm looking at things like layouts of ceremonial grounds, you know, or what a typical Creek Indian town would look like according to some of these explorers. So things like that. You got to picture a very poor representation, I think, of William Weatherford. That is, I mean, he may have dressed that way, but I don't think that's what he looked like. We don't know what he looked like. He could have looked like that, but they're trying to portray him as looking much more native than he actually looked because he was like 7/8 white. That's basically, to the best of our ability to you know, to know. It appears he's about 7/8 white. So, nothing against that. He was Wind Clan. He was a matrilineal, you know, descendant, and he, you know, he was a very important guy. His being mixed-blooded did not make a difference. So it really didn't back in those days. At least not the way that we tend to think of it, and as it would in the decades to follow. So here's a very important book. I see this on different websites, but A Sacred Path, The Way of the Muscogee Creeks. I'm reading this backwards on my phone. It's kind of doing that. Jean Chaudhry and Jodapal Chaudhry. I guess that's Joyip. I can't even pronounce that. Anyways, that's the East Indian name. Jean was a full-blooded Muscogee Creek woman who married an East Indian man and had kids. So if you see the name Chaudhry, they're part East Indian. So, and anyways, this covers a lot of interesting stuff. My mom actually has read this. I've only kind of fingered through the book a little bit, but it's actually got some, yeah, it's got some words. It's got some little bit of well, glossary of terms at least. It's got some images in it as well that might be of note or interest. Got pictures of her. Got pictures of, wow, yeah, you got her back in 1985. You got old artwork from the Itua Mound and in Georgia, and whoa, stomp ground layout of based on Aslanabi is how it's spelled, but it's I'm not sure how you pronounce my Greenleaf town. I've seen it spelled Asilanabi, you know, Asilanabi. You know, I've seen it like so. Anyways, I can spell it in Creek. I can spell it according to the rolls. This is actually a different spelling than I'm used to. But the fact that I got to look at what tribal town, what ceremonial grounds she belonged to, because now I'm really curious. And I know I've seen something like this in Swanton's book. Anyways, but yeah, that is, I mean, I actually have not seen this page ever because I haven't read the whole book. I read maybe the beginning of it. There's a time where I was collecting a bunch of books and trying to like learn as much as I could before I moved to Oklahoma. Then I went to Oklahoma. I learned more stuff in person and talked to more people. And these books just kind of started gathering dust. Not because I gained all the knowledge before, you know, or since I went to Oklahoma, but it's just that you know, there was a time where I was collecting a bunch of these books. This one I need to actually take a look at. I think I got this. Yeah, it looks like the Herd Museum, Creek Country, the Creek Indians and Their World by Robbie Etheridge. I got to take a look at this. Oh man, it looks like somebody pissed on the pages. No, it's not. But this is some of that paper that if it gets a little bit wet, it stains and it looks like garbage afterwards in those spots. No pictures. Well, a couple pictures. Like swamp lands and like maps of that. Okay. Yeah, it's got maps but no other images. But that doesn't mean the book isn't going to be useful. Okay, this one here, Radio Wars with the Creek Indians of Alabama by George Carey Eggleston. I think he's done a few books on the subject. I need to take a better look at that. I kind of went through it a little bit, but not really all that much. Not gonna lie. I believe I mentioned this one before. From Georgia Tragedy to Oklahoma Frontier, a biography of Scott's Creek Indian chief Chili McIntosh, son of William McIntosh. And this is by Billie Jane McIntosh, a descendant who I met. She's really nice. And this book has a lot of good information. It has a lot of good history, and it really covers it covers some of the traditional stuff before Christianity got introduced to the tribe. It covers kind of like, the difference in cultures. It covers some pretty good stuff in addition to the McIntosh family. It gives that as a backdrop. So anyways, that right there is a good book. Of course, I've got my dictionary of Creek / Muscogee. Good book to have, not a complete dictionary. There's definitely, as I mentioned before, more information that would be useful to have. What else do I got here before I show off my stuff? I got so many books on martial arts and all kinds of cool stuff, Scottish and Irish history, King Arthur stuff, comic books, biblical apocrypha, all kinds of things. I used to have a lot more books than this. I had to get rid of a lot of them even before I moved. There was a time where I knew that I just had to get rid of a bunch of books. There just wasn't any room for them. And I got rid of so many books. But here's a book I'll never get rid of unless I gift it to somebody. This is the New Testament in the Muscogee language. And what I did is I gave it a leather-bound cover. I tooled one of the... I tooled one of the Southeastern ceremonial complex shell carvings, probably necklaces, whatever. I call this is one version of the bird swastika, as I call it, because really there's so many swastika type designs. Because you look at the direction they're facing, it goes, instead of being a cross, it becomes a swastika, basically. So, all right. This right here, this is another one of those shell carvings, but I can't remember which mound these are from, but there's also a really cool cattle brand. And I thought, that has a very Oklahoma feel about it. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. I'm going to use that piece of leather. It's not going to work on all my Celtic stuff I was doing at the time, but it definitely would be really great on a Bible cover, especially like an Okie Indian type of thing. So, but again, it makes kind of a swastika pattern. So it's, but it's zoomorphic. And it's not only zoomorphic, it's here's the thing. A lot of native tribes, people across the world have the swastika. It was just, it didn't become a symbol of Aryan supremacy until the 1920s, when the Nazi Party started gaining a foothold in Germany at the time. Prior to that, you had Canadian swastika beer, and they still had it during the war, and I think even just after the war, and finally they said, screw it, we're not going to make money. The Sieg Heil, with the hand pointing upward, that was actually the Pledge of Allegiance before we put our hands on our hearts. It was done. It was called the Bellamy Salute. It's funny that people don't know any of this stuff, but Bellamy Salute. And actually, even till after the war, the Girl Scouts were still doing it. The Boy Scouts did it, and then some idiot reporters look, there's Nazis and Nazi politicians in the United States, and you did have some sympathizers, but that regardless, everyone was doing the Bellamy Salute. So why would it be a surprise? This person's a Nazi. It's for doing that. No, they're all doing that, the Bellamy Salute. So it's. Yeah, anyways, Muscogee people definitely, here's another version I actually, Blackout, if you're watching this is another, I didn't send you pictures of this yet, but that's another kind of a half swastika. And then just because I'm Turtle Clan, I decided to, and because I'm a Stahekihaya, I'm a mixed-blooded Cree, I decided to put a Celtic turtle instead of, you know, one based off of native art. And the thing is, I haven't seen an actual stone carving, shell carving, anything of the sort that has a turtle specifically, especially not one that's southeastern. If I did, I definitely would put it out there. That would have made it onto this book if I had found one, but this is cool too. Anyways, this is kind of my crowning achievement, kind of, well, not achievement, it's the crown jewel of my Muscogee Indian books, because it's got the scriptures and it's also got really cool southeastern style artwork on it. So, and the meaning of which we don't necessarily know. The fact that number 4 is very frequent, like there's 4 bird heads, there's 4 of those rattlesnake swastika creatures. 4 is considered sacred. It's, you have the 4 cardinal directions, the 4 winds, you have these 4 heavenly beings. If you look at this book, there's apparently 4 guys that bring medicine to the people. Like there's interesting stuff in this book. I mean, there's so much cool stuff. So I need to read more of these books and read them in better detail. It's hard to do because I got kids and my wife, she just doesn't want me reading books all that much. You know, it's like, why aren't you doing this and that? It's like, yeah, you know, I kind of want to do this too. But when you have kids, you got to kind of take care of kids. So, but I try to find the time. And I'm sorry I've not been putting out much content lately. There's a few weeks there where just like, I didn't know that my videos were showing up. They were downloaded, but they weren't showing up on my videos list. They were waiting, you know, they were locked for some reason. And I didn't lock them on purpose. So, anyways, so I'm going to try to produce more content. I'm really limited in how much content I can actually produce because of time. I've tried making a few videos in my car. I hate doing that. They're not usually as good. And even if I have a good point in my mind as I start driving, I don't always have the ability to finish that thought effectively when I'm dodging cars. So, and trying to, you know, drive straight and all that sort of thing. So I'll try to produce more of this stuff. Probably the next video I do on actual books will be this one. I would really like to have some free time and space inside the house to do a reading of this. I don't know when that's going to happen. I need to, Mother's Day's this weekend, so there's stuff we got to plan for that. I have got in touch with one guy who lives about 15 minutes or so away from me who does Yuchi song, and he's willing to like teach me some songs, which there's the same type of stomp dance songs that you'll find at the Creek ceremonial grounds. It's so similar. It's like pretty much the same when you really get down to it. So that's something I'm hoping to do, but I need to find time, and it's going to be on the weekends, and I don't know when I'm going to have a chance to do that. I need to touch bases with them again before, you know, I'm out of sight, out of mind. So it's going to probably be a couple weeks, unfortunately, I'm guessing, until I can do something like this. Unless my wife and all my in-laws that are with us right now decide to take off one of these nights and just leave me alone with the boys, then, you know, then I can do something like that. But until then, I don't know. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section, or message me, those of you who have me on Messenger. You know, as far as the books I listed here, like, what would you be more interested in? I mean, again, this will probably be the first one I do, because this is going to be an actual reading and explanation, and it might be a 2-parter. So, but I would like to share more of these books. I'd like to give myself an excuse to read them. And so you guys are kind of that excuse. So Mado for that. Mado for watching. And I will talk to you guys later. I hope you all have a great night, and I'll see you next time.